I was thinking more about that Zeus and Prometheus analogy that I was using in my last video, and I guess its connection between the general sort of dumbing down of society, the educational system. I even watched a video recently explaining the declining literacy that is in the United States that's affecting authors in particular, like how the way that writing is so terrible. And I imagine that this also affects the arts and literature collectively. And one of the things I've wondered about is that perhaps at a certain point when art and literature became modernized, right, when it hit that turning point, that then, of course, as we can see, that it also became more secularized, that there was a certain kind of stereotype that then got associated with secularization, that it wasn't just about not believing in God anymore. It wasn't just about not having religious beliefs, which is what, which is kind of what I think it should mean, or what it should be. Instead, it took on its own, personality, right? And so, for example, when we look at the art and literature, the kind of, maybe the prosaic nature of it, seemingly to try to combat these more older, more traditional kinds of writing that are just associated with sort of dead Europeans. I think that's also an example, I would say. And I would also say that what's interesting to me about the story that I discussed in the last video, right, the movie called Le Carisse, is that the person who tries to break that mold, that mold of traditionalism, his antidote is not as simple as just something that is purely secular, right? It kind of gets into a gray area where you could argue that the music is sort of sublime. It touches on something it's not religious either, but it is entirely its own thing. It's really its own animal, right? Whereas I think that mostly when you look at art and literature, when it took that turning point, everything is seemingly very much uniform. And a lot of this I'm not 100% sure about, but I do wonder about it sometimes.